Question everything, trust nothing, especially not your current administration. That's right. We're going to have a fantastic freaking stream today. Let me put my phone on mute here. Your boy Keeper's probably going to get silenced today. Myself and Bill Noble are going to have a fun conversation about what is going on in these markets. And a lot of it has to do with what's happening politically. So you guys know how I like to roll. Let's see if we can stay out of trouble, walk some lines here, and then maybe not. Maybe we'll just go full in and talk about what's going on because this is absolute chaos. Let me jump into the chat real quick, then I'll pull Bill up. Who was first in the chat today? Actually, I know who was first in the chat today. Where did it go? I saw him in there. Oh, there it is. Trade Intuition, first in the house. Trade Intuition, good to see you, bro. Looking forward to having you on. Trading Wars coming up soon. July 8th, that is the first day. Caffeinated Crypto in the house. Caffeinated. Cheers, brother. Powerade again. Sorry. No coffee today. Trying to chill out on the coffee a little bit. Patriot Caveman, we're going to be talking about this, bro. We were literally talking about this backstage when you put this message in here. Our Supreme Court just ruled in Biden's favor to be able to censor social media just in time for the election. Yep, I'm headed to Atlanta tonight, and you know why I'm going down there. You know what's going on in Atlanta. If you don't, well, pay attention because we got a little thing called a debate happening tomorrow. So without further ado, Bill Noble. Bill, how are you?
Sir, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. Looking forward to hearing your insight on everything that's going on, dude. Let's just kick it off, man. These markets feel strange. Like I messaged you this morning. We're going to talk about some whale activity that seems just off, some things that I've talked to Magic Internet Money in the past about that we've talked about on stream a little bit on the technical side of things. But then on the other side of things, the geopolitical side of things, we can't ignore that. There's a lot that's happening that's saying, hey, can these markets actually push in the direction that, you know, we were all hoping for with this bull run? So let me ask you this right off the bat. What do you believe is one of the big problems that I know we've got a lot of them, but what would you say is one of the big problems that we have going on right now for these markets and why things just feel off?
Okay. Yeah, good question. Geopolitics would probably be at the top of the list, right? In other words, we don't really have transparency on the Middle East, and we get, you know, notified of tensions between us and the Russians, but we don't have the details as to when the shoe is going to drop.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when the shoe drops and it's over and it's not something terrible or ongoing, then everyone calms down. However, waiting and not knowing is part of the problem.
Yeah.
You know, there could also be, you know, something out there in terms of like debt or banks or something as well. Like
yeah.
Let's put it this way. It's not that they have to sell for Mount Gox. That's not why this is off. Let's put it that way.
That's one of those things where they want something to point at. We always have the, you know, there'll be like this big news event happening that's usually celebrity related or something like that, right? They point over here. Hey, don't look at this list that everybody's trying to, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just saying, like, there's big things that are happening that people should be paying attention to, and they want to distract you over here. So in crypto, they're like, hey, Mount Gox is about to unload. Can you hear that air conditioner that just kicked on? In my new place, the air conditioning is loud. No? Okay, cool. And so the Mount Gox money is about to, you know, flood into the markets. We'll see what that looks like. But that's not at all. It doesn't feel like that's at all what's really happening. So let's start off. You touched on Russia. Let me just hit that real quick. So there was some chaos that ensued over in Russia, and some of the explosives had United States of America written on them. We don't really have a ton of information, but we do know that Putin basically said that he takes this as an act of war. Do you think that part of the reason that these markets are scared, which ultimately, when we look at it, could be a good thing because the best thing I've ever done is bought in times of fear, right? Do you think that that part of what's happening right now is people are in that blind spot? They don't know what's going on, and they're like, ugh, I kind of feel like a risk-on asset right now might not be the best place for my money.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it on the institutional side. In other words, think about it. Thin summer conditions, right? Easy to push the markets around. The rumor I heard in institutional circles when Bitcoin went through 60K was, you know, that there was a rumor of, you know, the Russians shooting down an American drone. And that's why everything got real sensitive. And when that rumor turned out to not be true, markets came back. Now, okay, the market is sensitive, and there are hedge funds telling their customers, in like, you know, official monthly and quarterly letters that geopolitical risks have never been higher, and they're not factored into the legacy markets. Now, again, crypto is always the canary in the coal mine. So crypto's down only, and we don't know why. The geopolitics is a likely candidate.
Yeah, and I would ask you, just because you have a good you know, pulse on the markets for the traditional side of things. I ask you this. So one of the things that I've talked to Magic Internet Money in the past about is, I talked to you about a little bit this morning, is some of the spoofing that's happening. And what I want to understand is kind of, I think I understand the why behind it, but I think there's more to it. Let's start off with this. On the institutional side, why would they not want their people? They make percentages off of, let's just say, the ETF. And I've got an article that I'm going to pull up today that talks about the inflows coming in on the ETFs that have all of a sudden jumped, increased. Why would they want to put fear into their customers that they're making percentages of gains off of the money that they're putting in? Why would they want to do that?
Okay, well, institutions, like, if they need to buy, and let's face it, they need to buy. Michael Saylor's got orders in, Michael Dell, you know, they've all got orders in. And then, of course, all these investment banks have got to own. We know you have to be long coming out of the summer, and so do they. So if I was running a trading desk, I would push it down as hard as I can to try to get as much heaving as I can, so I could get as much organic liquidity as I could without having to move the market on the way up.
So what you're saying is the setup and the play for the institutions is to keep all the little men, all the little people out as much, or in fear or in questions or whatever, on the front end as possible, so that they can buy at as low a points as possible. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Simply put, if you're a large institution, you can lean on altcoin perps, right? Short them, sell every rally, discourage everybody, liquidate the venture capitalists, trigger all the stops. And then if there was ever a big event, because think about it, right? Uncertainty, fear, down only, fear. And then when the event happens and everybody kind of frankly loses their mind, you're just standing down there to take it all.
Yeah, because they've got the money to pick it up, where the people that are bailing are like, I need this money, and if this goes against me, I'm scared. I don't know what I would do. Yeah, and so one of the things that I started to mention was a thing called spoofing. And there is, actually, hold on. Before we get into this, let me just pull up the markets real quick. Let's take a peek at them before we get into that. I'm excited to talk about this today. It's going to be a fun stream. Let me make sure I got the right one pulled up here. Here we go. All right, so the global crypto market caps are at, let me update because it's always wrong first. There we go. $2.372 trillion. That's down 1.3%. Oh, let me zoom back in there. Whoop, there we go. All right, Bitcoin is at $60,912. I got chopped up recently trading, bro. I literally just tried to go long on a play, went the other direction, then thought that we were going to continue to go down towards 58, took a short, got chopped on the way back up. Yeah, it hasn't been pretty. So I'm sitting on my hands right now. Sometimes that's the best play for me, especially as I'm not as educated as some of the other traders are at times. ETH at 33.26, down 1.1%, down 6%, just like Bitcoin over the past week. BNB taking about a 5% hit over the last week. It's under $600. Solana, I heard you talking on, I think it was Twitter, talking about how people are scared to buy $135 Solana, which is an interesting idea. People were so amped to buy effectively this same number for a while. And so I think it's interesting seeing when the money is going out versus the money coming in, how people's reactions are. It's the exact opposite as to what is actually taught. When you hear people say buy when there's blood in the streets, even when it's your own, it's counterintuitive, and it's so hard for people to be able to do. And you can see it with how people are reacting to the markets. Toncoin doing Toncoin things though, guys. I just can't talk about it enough. I think my best call in crypto has been Toncoin, up 6.1% on the last week. There's an interesting conversation that I had, Bill, actually, with somebody that I know you used to be associates with. I don't know that you guys chat very often anymore, but I was talking with Forrest a little bit, and he does a great job at research, right? And he called the base rotation, the rotation of money coming into different, markets. He called the Solana the base, and his next rotation that he's calling for, and he doesn't even think it's kicked in yet, is Toncoin. And one of the things that he was talking about, he's like, look at it, bro. You got the whole market in the tank right now, effectively. And Toncoin's at an almost all-time high. So with these markets where they're at right now, and this is why I've been preaching to you guys about the project that I'm in Tonald, which is on Ton, which is the Trump coin on Ton. That's why I've been preaching this, because guess what? The meme coins are still hot, and actually a lot of them are holding really strong, including Tonald. It's held up pretty well compared to what, you know, a lot of other projects have done. And when this money rotates into Ton, if it rotates into it like it did Solana, like it did Base, it is going to be absolutely wild. It's getting too big to ignore. And so I think Toncoin, if you guys are not, I'm telling you, it's still got a long way to go. Scrolling on down through, also another one near and dear to my heart. Let me scroll down. It's got a nice little move. Look at this. Caspa up over 16 cents while the rest of the market is taking a dump, and Fetch AI as well up about 24%. Caspa mining has been freaking fantastic. Treat me well. All right, so started to talk about spoofing. Let me talk to you about this. So we were talking about reasons that the institutions would play games with our money, and I've talked about this before. When the big money comes in, they're going to play big money games. Okay, cool. Magic Internet Money has talked to me about these massive orders that whales will put in. And the orders are not actually intended to be real orders. They're intended to push the fear and greed index. They're intended to push the heat maps. A lot of people look at these heat maps and they say, oh man, we've got like some huge block of orders at X, right? At this point or this point. And the crazy thing is they can almost sandwich these depending on how they time it. Like, so let's put an example. You put a massive short in at like well below market where you're at. And it's like, oh my gosh, like people are really betting on this on the way down, right? On the way. And so it puts fear in the markets. They're like, wait a minute, there's a huge order block here waiting for this thing just to collapse. That's scary. Maybe I shouldn't be in that. Again, doing what the institutions want, bringing price down. Okay, cool. And then the other thing that you brought up to me, which I hadn't even thought of the other side of it, is what you said to me, Bill, was like, well, the other side is that they're able to effectively act as if there's a lot more going on. And how did you say it? You said there's a lot more like beef to the markets, that there's a lot more strength if they were to put in a bunch of like high dollar longs that they weren't actually intending to play out.
Right. In other words, if you have to buy, the best thing you can do is lean on it and push it down. Right. Is to make it look awful so that other people sell. And, you know, conversely, that goes the other way. Like, I mean, let's say some gigantic institution's got a position, like somebody out there's long.
Yeah.
Right. So you can use that to dress the market up to make it look better. But I mean, you know, it seems like everyone wants to get that fear needle moving. Right. And I don't know, man. I was a consensus and so were you. You know, are we really established that much fear? The fear is because no one knows what's happening. Now, could these guys be taking advantage of that, pushing it? If I was running an institutional desk, and I knew I had to buy like half of crypto between now and the end of the year, that's exactly what I would be doing. Yeah.
I mean, like Crypto Boyo says, hedge funds have to buy low. It's the job, man. Yeah.
Right.
I get it. I totally get it. But the other thing that Boyo said was that this cycle has been very narrative driven so far. I think we've always seen narrative driven markets, but I feel like this market, for whatever reason, we haven't actually even seen an altcoin cycle. We have not even seen kind of an altcoin cycle. We've seen meme coins. We've seen Bitcoin and ETH. Tell me what else besides some random one-off tokens here and there that we've really seen have the performance that we would have seen before. We haven't seen it. Are we in a sell in May, walk away, which is something that you actually, when I very first met you, had helped me make some good decisions back in the day, years ago, 3-4 years ago, whatever. I don't know. Do you feel like that's where we're at, Bill, or do you think these markets are going to turn around pretty quickly heading into the election?
Okay, well, the markets are going to turn around before the election because there's going to be an event for the election. It's called the October Surprise. Okay. I don't know what that is, but it's going to benefit Bitcoin because we're going to, in the meantime, yeah, it was, book your consensus tickets, sell on the last day of May, come back in the fall, early fall.
Yeah.
Right. I should have just stuck with I should have done like the Bum Phillips and just ran the play until they stopped it on sell in May. right?
It's so tough though, bro. It is so freaking tough. It's so easy to play Monday morning quarterback. I tell people this all the time. You have a game plan and then you're like, wait a minute, this is not how this, and this is part of what you've been talking about with keeping people in the dark. If you don't lay out the game plan for people, if you own a company but you don't tell all of your employees what direction you're trying to head in and what the goals are, and you just kind of keep everybody in the dark, you've got workers scrambling around all over the place not knowing which way to go. And I almost feel like that's what's happening here. It's like, hey, we know that you guys have figured out this cyclical thing, but we want to keep everybody on their toes and understand that it's not always going to be Bitcoin money into ETH money, into altcoin money, into shitcoin money, flipping back into Bitcoin. And that's what they've broken up. That's what I believe that they've broken up. They've just torn that idea apart. And now the money is so scattered that, and not to mention there's 2 million damn coins or whatever. Yeah. And everybody's trying to chase all these crazy meme plays. And I don't know. I just feel like these markets feel just wonky. But one of the things that coming up on Friday, I want to ask you about this. So there is a big options expiry on Friday. So it says renewed bullishness expected after Bitcoin and Ether's $10 billion options expiry on Friday. So over 25% of options are set to expire in the money. Deribit's Luke Strigers, I probably just absolutely terrible. That was probably a terrible way to say his name, but whatever. Sorry, dude. The size of the impending Bitcoin and ETH expiry represents over 40% of the notional options open interest in Deribit. Over 25% of options are set to expire in the money. Traders anticipate a renewed bullish shift in Bitcoin and Ether next month. So, Bill, tell me this. If all of these trades are expiring in the money, why does that end up being a bullish event? Because people have now made money on the markets to be able to continue to pour money in?
Right. In other words, if people made bullish bets in the derivatives markets, most of the time what they just do is they just say, okay, here are your winnings, and then you're flat. You have no bet on. Okay. In other words, options expiring is a way for people to take profits.
Right.
Now, will they come back in? We don't know. Typically, what happens the week of an options expiration is flows occur that the average person, which includes the average chart person, can't really see.
Okay.
In other words, there is an enormous amount of buying and selling that occurs in the options world that
OTC.
OTC futures,
okay.
Whatever is out there in the options world, because it's in legacy and crypto and OTC. Okay. So there's a lot of buying and selling that, I don't know, we can't see. So the week of an options expiration, and particularly Thursday or Friday, go to the beach.
Don't try to trade that.
Yeah, don't try to trade that, because that's being moved around, by large market makers that they have to do. And there's no games. It's just there's a lot of flows that move price around in a jittery thin market, right? Because again, there's jitters, there's summer liquidity, right? It's not there.
Why is that? Why do you have the summertime lull? I was talking to CryptoFace the other day. He brought that up. I've heard this obviously for years, since I've been in this for 7-8 years, whatever. What is the summertime lull? Like, why? They're still working. Like, everything's still operating. The markets are still open. Why?
Okay, good question. Crypto, I think, because it's not propped up by a central bank, it kind of requires continuous inflows in order to go up or stay stable.
Okay.
All right. And then in the summer, the simple fact of the matter is New York goes on vacation.
Yeah.
Right. Europe is definitely gone. Like, Europe doesn't work during the summer, definitely doesn't work during August.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, you have these bigger players that just, they just want to square up their books. And it becomes a thin market that can be moved around by random news, big events. Just not everyone's playing. And in this case, I think they're preserving mental capital. Physical capital, obviously, but mental capital. Like, don't get chopped up. Don't get messed up. Don't.
Interesting. I've never heard it put that way. I know that the amount of liquidity that's out there, when it thins out, it makes it easier to move the markets around. Does that also then encourage, like I was talking about with like some of the whales and stuff, doesn't that encourage them to be able to step in and say, hey, some of the big hitters aren't here. Now I'm the big hitter and I can sort of play with some of these markets, so to speak, depending on what it is that they're trading, and they take advantage of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, Bitcoin's going to 100, Bitcoin's going to 120. We know this. They know this. All right. The question is where is it going on the upside? The question is, can I get all I need to get before it turns?
Yeah.
So I'm not the one market buying at 80.
Because there's going to be a lot of people that are.
Yeah, like normies are going to see the Bitcoin ETF. They're going to get Nvidia syndrome, right? They're going to see the Bitcoin ETF moving up, and they're going to be like, "Oh, look, it's $42." They're not going to see the price of Bitcoin. They're going to see the Bitcoin ETF trading like a normal stock, and then they're just going to FOMO in. They're going to run the Nvidia playbook on Bitcoin eventually.
Right. No, it makes sense. So let's talk a little bit. Let's shift into some of the political side of things, even back again a little bit. So Ripple CEO slams SEC chair for saying crypto executives go to jail. Let me get this stupid article, or this. I got to get an ad blocker. During his recent interview at Bloomberg Investment Summit, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler made a controversial comment stating that most of the crypto executives have gone to jail. This didn't go well with crypto industry leaders who slammed the SEC chair. All right, so let me start with this. It's just short and sweet. Why do you have, who is it that's pushing Gary Gensler's buttons to make him, who's got their hand up Gary Gensler's shirt? Who is the puppet master for Gary Gensler that has him talking so negative about everything blockchain when he was a damn MIT professor? For like, who is trying to have him do that? The central banks?
I would say the regular banks. I would say the regular banks. In other words,
ultimately we have a lot of people like myself, like yourself, that could have exponentially more money in their bank, but we're choosing to use crypto.
I mean, I used to work in an investment bank, and it was never stated, but the objective of any investment bank is to get into a market and dominate it. Yeah. You want to be the top dog. You want to have the market share. Okay, so how does Jamie Dimon get market share in Bitcoin? He doesn't, right? I mean, yeah, he'd have to buy a lot of it, but they don't want a decentralized ecosystem. They don't want Solana. They don't remember how Gensler went after Uniswap.
Yeah, why?
Right? Yeah, it's probably it's the financial side of the deep state, and whoever is behind the banks. And, whoever the banks finance politically, I think there's also a point to remember about Gensler is that, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, even the consensus conference was all about how crypto was going to get regulated out of business. And, you had to move outside the United States to do crypto. You know what? That was a consensus idea, and it turned out to be absolutely wrong. Like, I'm not going to be there, but I would imagine, assuming the orange man is still free to walk around, I would imagine him at Bitcoin Nashville is going to be epic.
You're not, we need to get you up there, Bill. We need to get you up there because I'm going to be there. I know a lot of people are going to be there. We definitely need to chat about that off stream. But that being said, so let's assume that he is walking around. Some people think that he's not. Do you believe that even something as simple as that, and him being willing to show up at a conference like that, do you think that that would be a potential like huge move or play or what's the word I'm looking for? Basically like a catapult in the crypto ecosystem right now? Or do you think it would just be another news headline for people to then FUD out and say, look at all these, look at all these conservative idiots supporting the, how they play the whole Trump deal?
Okay. Well, yeah, the big man at Bitcoin Nashville can definitely create a rally. The question is it a sustainable rally? Yeah. I mean, presidential candidates liking crypto. I mean, he's basically done a great job at moving RFK's talking points into his, he's just pointing that orange man fame spotlight on some of these concepts and expanded on them.
Yeah.
right? So it's not fresh information. It's just very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, if the excitement, like I said, if the excitement doesn't create a rally, then you know there's a problem. Now, I hate to say this, but if you went back and marked on a chart when the big man came out and said, I'm super pro crypto, I'm the pro crypto candidate, the market was down only the next day. The market hasn't stopped going down until he came out and said, RFK says, I'm the man. And then, the big guy goes, no, I'm the man. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, market down only. Okay. So, again, don't want to get weird. Would love to see the rally. The bottom line is, I think he's going to support freedom of transactions and self-custody. He's going to support individual freedom as much as possible, particularly after what we've been seeing lately. Like even the Supreme Court decision, all this stuff that we talked about. I mean, the person who wrote that opinion was a judge appointed by him. Hopefully he supports the people's willingness to be free. And I actually think the bigger crypto rally can be if he actually makes it all. Like that guy's running a triathlon. He's running a race. People are trying to hold him back, man. If he actually crosses the finish line in November, that's when the crypto rally starts.
That's when the crypto rally starts.
Right.
I've heard the other side of that too, where since there's so many people, so many big money people that do not want to see him cross that finish line, so to speak, saying that that they would dump markets if he indeed does get in, even though business wise that wouldn't really make sense. That they would dump these markets to then be able to point back and say, look what you did, look what happened under your reign. Things were even better when you know what I'm saying? And it just, we talked about it before the stream, the whole idea where one side thinks that the whole world's going to cave in if it goes one way, and the other side thinks the whole world's going to cave in if it goes the other way is a problem. You showed me something to do with that Ray Dalio's book that he had written, and he's talking about like some real serious economic issues that could press our basically creating total instability. That's a nice way of putting it, into our country, which obviously is not going to be good for our financial markets. I'm hoping that with a lot of the business side of things that President Trump did in the past, and we would think would be doing moving forward, that maybe some of these people could be more objective and say, hey, listen, like I need to make a living, and ultimately this is good for my industry or whatever. Let's take advantage of it. Let's make money. Let's all continue to press forward. But unfortunately, sometimes people are so tied into their political opinions that they're willing to basically cut off their nose to spite their face. And it feels like that to me right now, that there's a lot of people that are in that, camp. They're like, no, I don't care what happens. If he gets in, this is over or whatever, So I don't know.
I think whatever problems there are in legacy, and TradFi will reveal himself if he wins. Like all of a sudden, all the things that are wrong will all of a sudden be released. Now, whether that's fair or not, I don't know. However, when everything is revealed, when the kimono is opened, okay, that will be time for crypto, because people will go, oh my God. Like they're going to release the Ethereum ETF right as these things are going to be revealed, regardless of why they get revealed.
Yeah. So you think this election is going to be, you think this overall is going to be a bullish time in crypto surrounding the election? Your thought process, just like your opinion.
Yeah. In other words, they're not going to be able to hold back the problems that are out there. They're just not. And if you have a president supporting transactional freedom, right, and actually encouraging, in other words, like Gensler is going away. I mean, people are interested that the politicians like it, but I don't know if Gensler going away has fully set in yet, right? That is over. Yeah. And when the need arises for crypto, and which we know is coming, when the problems reveal themselves, people are just, they're not only going to want to do it, but they're going to be encouraged to do it by financial institutions and politicians.
And do you think they're going to be able to, let's say Donald Trump gets in, do you think that they're going to, do you think that effectively the whole CBDC thing will be shut down, at least temporarily? Or do you think that that's still going to be a push?
Okay, it'll probably be a push from non-governmental agencies Like, for example, if the Fed can't do it, the SWIFT system will do it, right? Some external entity. And listen, man, I heard somebody from Circle speak who said in her mind, there was no difference between USDC and a CBDC. I was like, wow, really? Interesting.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Why?
like, hey, well, she didn't elaborate, and I don't want to quote it out of context, but she was just talking about in terms of a payment mechanism, they were both $1. That was kind of the gist. But I was like, so, I mean, if you guys got a surveillance mechanism attached to USDC?
To USDC? Yeah, you're saying it was a broad statement that then wasn't elaborated on, and it begs the question, like, wait a minute, is there something more going on here?
It begs the question, do they need the CBDC? Have they already got the capability? Or can somebody like SWIFT, or some, non-governmental organization create these things?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? OpenAI created WorldCoin, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Private sector can do Big Brother coin if they want. But you know what? At the end of the day, this underscores the whole preserve your mental capital, preserve your physical capital, get Bitcoin under 60 if you can, because, these things are going to appear one way or the other, whether it's 4 years from now, 4 months from now. You're going to need crypto just like you need bottled water and beef jerky and a flashlight.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes a lot of patience. And I think that's what a lot of people at least, traditionally in crypto haven't had. That's part of the reason why we see these massive inflows into things like meme coins, because people are just, impatient, and they're looking for that lottery play, whatever. I think that the value proposition of crypto and the way the Bitcoin was created still is there. And I think people are just blinded by the greed, where they're like, wait a minute, like I can't buy $60,000 worth of Bitcoin, even if I do, and it goes to 300K. I've only 3.5x. I've only made 180 grand or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, whereas they're like, well, I mean, my buddy put in 3 grand into this and he's a millionaire, And I think that the greed blinds the fact that there's, a lot of people also getting absolutely hammered from that as well. So let's talk about this. What you talked, do you have that article pulled up, Bill, about the Supreme Court decision? Yes, you do. All right. Read me a little piece of that action, and let's talk about this.
Okay. The 6-3 vote reversed an appeals court decision, alleging that the government violated the First Amendment by telling social media platforms that they needed to remove disinformation. Judge Amy Barrett, who the big man appointed right before he left, said that the plaintiffs must demonstrate a substantial risk that in the near future they will suffer injury traceable to a government defending the government doing something. In other words, the Supreme Court was saying there was no evidence in this particular case that Uncle Sam picked up the phone and said, get this off the internet. So I guess the Twitter files, that gigantic filing cabinet full of information was not admissible in this particular case. So,
which was literally them calling and saying, hey, take this crap down.
Right. And then, of course, as Patriot Caveman said, honestly, this feels like these Supreme Court decisions carry so much weight. Sometimes I wonder if they were afraid to go against Uncle Sugar on this one.
What do you mean?
Well, meaning, these justices, they're just people who walk around, right? They don't have security details. They're just, they're people who go to work. They work in a really fancy building. But, do you really want to cross people who want to limit free speech? Now, again, if there was no evidence, there was no evidence. They're lawyers, they're judges. It's the top court in the country. I don't want to be ridiculous, but, I can't believe there was no evidence. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, if someone told you to take it down, there was no communication, no witnesses, nothing.
Right.
I'm not a lawyer, but it's a 6-3 decision. And if the government says you're misinformation, then your stuff's coming down. That's it.
I just hate, some of even the conversations that we have on here where we could really dive into, even on something like this. We can't do it because ultimately we get kicked off platforms or whatever. I told you the other day I had a TikTok that got taken down, and I literally it literally took it down saying it was misinformation, and I pulled it off the CDC's website, which tells me very simply, it's not about misinformation or disinformation. It's we don't want you to have this information.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's a problem. That's a real freaking problem.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, regulators, this coming from finance, regulators are so strict and so scary that the compliance and legal departments inside broker dealers, the people who are regulated by like SEC, Treasury, Fed, the compliance in the legal departments are so afraid of the regulators that if there's even a minor question as to whether or not this could be right or wrong, we're not doing it. If it gets any scrutiny at all, we're not doing it. So the actual enforcer of these rules, the government can go, well, don't make us have to come in there. And the social media companies go, oh, well, don't worry. We'll take care of it. So yeah, I mean, is this on a topic? It's a topic, right? It's not a question. It's good or bad information. It's like, you're not talking about this. Yeah. You're not, right? I'm taking it on the chin a little bit because I just don't know if there's a way to talk about what's going on in the world without talking about what's going to happen in November. Yeah. What's going on in the world, right? It's really hard to just say, oh, yay, Bitcoin. I mean, that worked 3 months ago, but it's not now.
Yeah. And all of the things that you need to be, that do affect these markets, that you need to be able to have the conversations about, those are the things that they don't want you, that they want to silence you on. And it's like, so what do? Your hands are tied. I have multiple people in the chat that will say, hey, I never get notified of your videos.
Yeah,
Bill, I know you deal with the same thing.
I'm starting to get the same thing. Right. And I'm trying to keep it super clean and give them what they want still.
Mm-hmm. Patriot K-Man said it's kind of funny how they started removing videos since no, dude, they've been doing that to me for a long time, but it had chilled out for a little while, probably just because I chilled out a little bit because I didn't want to. I got my account taken away for life, and then I had to fight to get it back. Got it back, and then I just didn't want to deal with it. But that's what they rely on, and that's the sad thing. It's like they know also that we monetize this, and so I was thinking about this a lot. They know that I monetize TikTok. They know that I have the ability to monetize YouTube. They know that we have the ability to monetize X, right? And they say, okay, this is an average person that's done X, Y, and Z. Okay, maybe this person has a really big following. We don't like what they have to say. Let's hit their pain point. Their pain point's going to be money. How do we do that? Well, we silence them and allow them not to be able to grow. We silence them and allow them, take their videos down, and then they will get scared, which is literally what happens. You get scared of not being able to talk about it, so you just don't talk about it. And it's a freaking problem, man. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I've had a lot of people tell me, just don't worry about it, bro. Like, just go with the flow. No, like, we need to be able to have these conversations. That's literally the whole reason that people love or say that they love living in the United States, the greatest country in the world, and you have freedom of speech. No, we don't. No, we don't. And they'll say that, and the argument is that it's not that that these are private companies. This is what they'll tell you, because I've had this argument before, and I asked a lawyer about it. He said that the argument will be, you do have freedom of speech. You can say whatever the heck you want out on Broad Street, right? Go say whatever you want out on Broad Street. Go for it, right? People might get mad at you. They might get angry, this, that, and the third. They can't stop you from doing it. However, this is a private entity that you are speaking on, and they're allowed to make guidelines, and they're allowed to decide what you can and can't say. And if they are controlled by a government that does not want you saying that, then they can lean into the fact that, hey, it's a private company and made their own decisions. And ultimately, when you really dig into it, it's the government saying, hey, lean on these because we don't want them talking about this.
Right. You have freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach.
Yep. Go speak out in the middle of the street, see how many people you can round up, but jump on the internet, not a chance. Not going to have that happen. Yeah, Patriot K-Man's talking about it right now. He's like, I never get notifications. Yeah, it's freaking chaos, dude. All right, so let's look forward a little bit. Tomorrow night is the debate. I'm going to be down in Atlanta. I've got the Donald team coming with me, so we're super excited about that. JJ, I see you got gifted a membership by Caffeinated Crypto. Caffeinated Crypto, I'm putting you on the wheel, brother. Thank you very much. reminder, guys, super chats, you're going on the wheel. We're doing a 2-for-1 right now. And then I think I'm going to step them back. It was just putting too many damn names in. And then a 1-for-1 for the people that show up the day of the show. But Caffeinated Crypto, I got you. I appreciate you. So the debate's tomorrow night. Do we see? So now, for those of you that don't know, there's not any outside attendance, right? Like when I say outside attendance, I mean nobody's going to be in there watching this physically. There's going to be probably a few news outlets or the news media or whatever, and that's basically it. They're muting the microphone of one candidate over the other when the other one is talking. They're literally, did you hear this? They're flat out muting it so that you can't have any sort of a back and forth, probably so Joe Biden can hear his earpiece is probably what it is, so that they can, basically feed him what he needs to say in response to whoever's behind, that probably Mr. Obama or something like that. I don't know. But how do we think that this is going to affect crypto, if at all?
Okay. Indirectly.
Yeah.
So I think if there's going to be a geopolitical issue or if there's going to be a geopolitical problem, you would launch it when everyone's distracted. Or if the president performs poorly, you would launch it after you have the president weakened. Okay. I think at the end, the man is like the king. As one psychologist put it, he's just so famous. The guy's famous, which is, good to have a meme coin of a super famous guy. And at the end, he's probably going to be just as famous, if not more famous. There won't be any debate after the debate, in the words of a good friend of mine. There won't be any debate. He will leave, no doubt. Yeah. However, how does it affect crypto? All right. Well, it could affect crypto if you get positive crypto comments. Hopefully the rally sticks. Beware the failed rally. My thing is if Bowden does poorly, then you could have a geopolitical event start right after that.
With what intention? With the intention to say, like, what they did, where was it that they did this? Well, I mean, they've been doing this for a while over in Ukraine. What? So that, if we're at WAR, if we're at that, then we could shut down and not have an election because we're actively at war or something. Like they did in Ukraine.
I mean, look, the Democratic Party can't possibly think they're going to win the election with the current candidate.
Hell no.
And they have a bench. They have a bench. I mean, they could, they could be competitive with other people, but they've chosen not to do that. Now, I don't understand. I don't know, man. It's almost like they want to lose on purpose. Now, that's probably a whole separate show. All right. But the fact of the matter is, if the president of the United States looks weak and he's still going to be the president no matter what, even if he doesn't run again. But if the president of the United States looks weak, anybody who needed, like if there's a Middle East or an Eastern European issue, those people would act if the president looked weak. So, a Trump win would be a win for the big man. But if Bowden really, if Bowden really blows out a diaper and messes it up, you can have our enemies take advantage of that.
Yeah. You're saying it's a double-edged sword. It can be a really good thing for us, and it can be a bad thing at the exact same time.
Yeah. And like I said, if you're, if you're on the side of the big man and it's a big triumph, enjoy the party and, say a little prayer that, nothing stupid happens overseas, because this market is definitely spooked by something. We can only guess what it is. Yeah.
Lots of finger pointing going on. But then I also had an article that was talking about the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF had $1.1 billion of trading volume today. So like, why there's so much, and this is what I was talking about, right? There's so much back and forth. It says the spot Bitcoin ETF achieved a significant milestone today with $1.1 billion in trading volumes, signaling strong investor interest and market activity in cryptocurrency ETFs. The ETF's high trading volume reflects a robust participation from institutional investors seeking exposure to Bitcoin's price movements. Is that just because the prices are so damn low right now and they know where it's headed, so there's a ton of volume?
Sure. Equities people for the last 18 years they have been programmed to buy the dip. Nvidia goes down for 3 days, buy the dip. Bitcoin ETF goes down, buy the dip, right? It's like retail investors and self-directed accounts. And, they're like, oh, look, Bitcoin's down 10%. Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, there are more than likely institutions. Okay. Like, if you were a pension fund, you could buy Bitcoin at 60, 50, and 40 and just sit there with it because it's going to 120 and beyond. Like, these people who you were saying earlier, like, oh, I only got a 3x because it went to 150 or 250.
Yeah.
And do you know what the world looks like with Bitcoin at 250?
Oof.
You ain't gonna be worried about a 2x. You're gonna be like, wow, thank God I have money.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why the volume.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. All right, so Bill, what do you got going on? Talk to me about what you got going on personally. What you got going on over the channel? I dropped your Patreon. If you guys want to check out Bill Noble, one of the smartest in the crypto space, I dropped his Patreon down below. What do you got going on over in the old Patreon, Bill?
Okay, well, it's patreon.com/unhinged crypto. So we just came out with a report about gaming coins, wondering if GameStop could wake up. In other words,
well, what do you mean?
Well, meaning what happens if during all this summer illiquid turmoil, GameStop goes from 25 to 60?
Oh, I got you.
Right. What happens if GameStop wakes up, Solana does okay? Could the gaming stocks, the gaming coins do better? So, we have this in the premium store and, and we also have something, we also have our regular content,
right,
which is like a podcast and charts, so it's giving you like one-to-one guidance almost, except it's through like a podcast and charts. Basically it's how to manage your head and how to manage your portfolio. When it's going up, it's the portfolio. When it's going down, it's your head to keep you in the game.
Dude, I think that's so smart because that is the biggest thing where people that fail or get screwed by crypto, it's never really crypto that screwed them. It is their either lack of conviction in what it was that they were doing, or I mean, obviously, yeah, some people made some decisions to put money on exchanges and the exchanges went down or whatever. That's a whole different story. But ultimately what you're talking about is the mental state and mental prowess of someone who is experiencing high volatility, which is these crypto markets, right? And you're helping people guide people through that, right?
Yeah, we're helping guide people through that. And like I said, we're making sure that people are there when it counts. Plus, as we said earlier, I mean, if you got something to say, you can say it on YouTube, but you're going to pay a little bit of a price. And Patreon, Patreon wants customers.
Oh, it's because there's a paywall, right?
Right.
Crusader and I used to talk about putting a paywall on it, and then we could say whatever we wanted, which was what was told to me by my attorney father. He was like, put a paywall on something, and then you can say whatever the hell you want.
Right. So Patreon allows for a little bit more free discourse.
Right.
Because obviously, as you know, there's plenty to say.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then that only goes up because, like I'm telling you right now, if you have problems with, social media, here are the taboo subjects. Obviously, health related things, followed by the big man, followed by things you might not think of, like banks. The dollar, right? You can't talk about.
Which is all the things we need to talk about to put together a good damn show to put it on freaking YouTube and get views, which gets more ad revenue, and this is why it's so maddening to me, because if you really put it together and you allow people to speak, there are financial gains for everybody to be had. But on the other side, it's like the elites that are in charge of those things that they don't want you talking about. It's because there's financial loss possibly at play on their end of things. And so they run the world. And so you're going to play by their rules. That's effectively what I feel like it's come down to.
Yeah. And it's my job to keep my people, your people, anybody's people who I talk to.
Yeah.
They got to be in the know. They got to know what's happening. They got to understand dollar yen. They have to understand these things, right? Even if they only matter for a week. If a Ray Dalio event happens and it mattered all at once, The worst thing you can be is either unprepared or unprepared and uninformed, which leads to fear and then bad decisions. Right? If you have some decent research to give you a heads up, you can at least react. It's not like you're not going to be emotional. I'm going to be emotional. Right. But the research will allow you to react accordingly.
And understanding actually what's happening. It also gives you a little bit more comfort in knowing, okay, this is happening, but we kind of anticipated a possibility of X, Y, Z. And now, okay, here's my reaction to it. Here's my game plan. I remember Bill talked to me about this. All right, boom, let's do it. Let's put it together. Let's make it happen. And we'll see, things through on the other side. I like it. I like it. Well, Bill, as always, brother, I love having you on. I appreciate you for coming on. I look forward to having you on again soon. Crypto fam, we love you. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Just a reminder, I am out of town tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. I might do an impromptu live or two. I'll let you guys know. With the rally coming, I'll probably definitely do a TikTok live. I'll probably have some fun on there. And I'm going to try to do some stuff over here, but no promises. Won't be the regular live stream, though. I'm just letting you guys know that in advance. I think I'm going to be on I'm going to be in studio tomorrow with Ben over at BitBoy Studio tomorrow morning. So you guys might see me on there. But yeah, appreciate you again, Bill. Crypto fam, question everything, trust nothing, except for your boy Keeper and Bill Noble and Jesus. Definitely got to trust him. We love you. Have a great day. Until next time, HODL like it's hot. We'll see you soon.